There is something happening inside your head right now that you have never been told about. Not a glitch, not a disorder. A mechanism, ancient, precise, and completely invisible to you, running silently beneath every decision you make, every relationship you hold, every moment you believe you are in control. It starts with a simple question. Why do you care what your enemy thinks of you? You know you shouldn't. You've told yourself 100 times that their opinion doesn't matter, but you check anyway. You rehearse what you'd say to them. You imagine winning arguments you'll never have out loud. And somewhere deep in the back of your mind, you want them, specifically them, to see you differently. That is not weakness. That is your brain executing a survival program that is approximately 200,000 years old. In the early architecture of the human brain, the social group was everything. To be cast out was to die. And so the brain developed a threat detection system that treated social disapproval with the same urgency as physical danger. When your tribe leader looked at you with contempt, your cortisol spiked. Your heart rate climbed. Your attention narrowed. Because your life actually depended on it, that system never left you. What neuroscientists have found is that when a rival, someone you perceive as competing with you for status, for respect, for any resource that matters, when that person judges you negatively, your brain registers it as a predator alert. Not metaphorically, literally, the same amygdala response. The same cascade of stress hormones. The same ancient scream from the limbic system. You are in danger, and this is where the science becomes deeply unsettling. Because your brain doesn't just want you to survive the threat. It wants you to neutralize it. And the way it chooses to neutralize it is chemically elegant and deeply irrational. It sends you after their approval, not the approval of your closest friends. Not the people who love you, the people who don't. Researchers studying the dopamine system found that the reward, response to receiving validation from someone who previously rejected you, is significantly more intense than receiving praise from someone already on your side. The brain treats converting a critic into a supporter the way it treats winning a disputed territory. The dopamine hit is volatile, unpredictable, and precisely because of that, addictive. You are not seeking respect. You are hunting dopamine from the most unreliable source your nervous system can find. Now consider what that costs you. Every time you perform for an audience you secretly despise, your authentic self contracts a little. Every time you reshape what you say, how you dress, what you admit to wanting, because of how someone you don't even like might receive it, you're not being strategic. You're being hijacked. Your brain is spending cognitive resources it could use for actual growth, actual connection, actual clarity, and redirecting them toward the management of someone who isn't even in the room. This is what researchers call the shadow self dynamic. The idea is disturbing in its precision. The criticism that hurts you most, from a rival, from someone you look down on, tends to target the exact insecurity you haven't yet faced about yourself. The rival doesn't invent the wound. They find it. And your nervous system responds not just to the threat from outside, but to the echo of something it already suspected was true. So you don't just want to prove them wrong. You want to prove yourself wrong about yourself, and so you perform. You tailor. You obsess. You lie in bed at night running numbers on a single negative comment, while 50 genuine moments of connection fade quietly into nothing. Your brain is paying the mental rent on someone who contributes nothing to your actual life. And it's doing so because somewhere in its ancient wiring, it still believes that person holds the power to exile you from the tribe. The real cost isn't just emotional, it is neurological. Every hour your mind spends managing a rival's perception is an hour it doesn't spend building something real. Every identity you construct for people you resent is a layer placed over who you actually are. Over time, the self that shows up in the world becomes less yours, assembled, curated, optimized for the wrong audience, leaving the people who matter with a version of you that was never entirely real. Some researchers have proposed a framework they call selective apathy as the deliberate deactivation of the approval-seeking response toward people who serve no genuine function in your life. Not hostility, not indifference born from pain, A calm, data-based boundary drawn between opinions that are evidence and opinions that are noise. A decision made consciously to redirect the cognitive bandwidth that was being spent on your enemies and give it back to yourself. But here is where the science stops, and the question begins, because the mechanism that drives you toward your rival's approval is the same mechanism that keeps you connected to the people you love, the same ancient wiring, the same dopamine architecture, the same brain that chases validation from the people who hate. You also reaches toward the people who need you. You cannot surgically remove one and leave the other intact, so the question isn't whether you can stop caring what your enemies think. The question is, what does it say about you that the version of yourself you've been working hardest to protect is the one designed to impress the people you least respect?